Well, you know, anybody that's watched any of my fishing videos know that I'm a follower of Buck Perry. I am a spoon plugger. I've followed Buck's teachings for over 50 years, and I've caught more fish than you can shake a stick at. Because Buck Perry, who is the father of modern fishing, he's the man who figured out what makes a fish tick. He's the man that figured out how to catch fish, any kind of fish, anywhere in the world, any time of the year, and he did that back in the 1940s. And it's an absolute shame that most of the fishermen today never even heard of Buck Perry. They got no idea who he is or what his contributions were. They don't realize that all modern fishing owes its existence to Buck Perry. Some of them, a lot of them are familiar with, okay, Buck, he coined certain words and phrases to put with his teachings on fishing. And among those, the word structure. And you see people on TV all the time using the word structure. They have no earthly idea what they're talking about. So most of them, anything that's not water is structure. I mean, my God, if it's a weed, if it's a limb, if it's a stick up, if it's anything that's not water, to them is structure. Well, and they use other words that Buck coined to go with fishing, and they use them all erroneously because they don't know what they're talking about. Simply put, most of the people out there that's on TV that's teaching fishing, got fishing shows and all this stuff, they really have no idea what they're talking about. And if they do, they don't put it to practice because of their sponsors. Their number one thing is to sell you products. Just remember that if they're sponsored for somebody, what their deal is to to get you to buy their products, not teach you how to catch fish. Well, Buck, he taught successful fishing from A to Z. And again, to repeat myself, Buck died a few years ago. But Buck had some people, instructors that went about teaching his fishing, his school of fishing, Buck Perry's School of Fishing. And one of his number one instructor was a man named Don Dixon. Don retired umpteen years ago, but Don looks around and he sees the fact is nobody, absolutely nobody, is teaching successful fishing. Nobody. So he come out of retirement and made a series of YouTube videos that teaches Buck Perry from A to Z. He teaches Buck Perry from A to Z. So do yourself a favor and go to YouTube and go to Don Dixon Fishing, where you can learn how you can catch any kind of fish anywhere in the world, any time of the year. Now, but as a spoon plugger, there's a lot of people today use the word, I'm a structure fisherman. Well, they're not a structure fisherman because they're just running around the lake fishing anything they can find, anything they can see. They fish it and they call themselves structure fishing. But structure, as defined by the father of structure fishing, is a feature of the bottom. A feature of the bottom, different to the surrounding areas that the fish can relate to, that the fish can see and recognize. And this feature of the bottom must lead the fish all the way from the deepest water in the lake, or the deepest water in the area of the lake or river or whatever, or the deepest water in the area, the deepest water in the lake, the deepest water in that section of the lake, or the deepest water in the area, or the deepest water that's available to them. So this structure, this feature of the bottom must lead from the deep water all the way to the shallows. All the way. It must lead from the deepest water in the area all the way to the shallows. If it doesn't do that, it will not be a productive structure. As Buck says, you can have structure and not have fish, but you're not going to have fish without structure. And that's a rule that you need to get down in your heart, that all fish relate in some way, shape, form, or fashion to structure. Now, some of them hold tight to structure virtually their entire life, such as a largemouth bass. Others that we often call pelagic fish, they will get out and they'll roam the open water from time to time. Among them, stripers and hybrids, which is two of my favorite fish to fish for. Stripers will get out and they will roam open water, harassing or hounding the daylights out of schools of shad and things like that. So you can catch them out in open water from time to time. That's true. But they too spend most of their time related to structure. They are related to structure. And another thing about a striper is he's a channel-oriented fish. He's channel-oriented. He will follow pretty much the channel, the main channel of the lake, or he will take side feeder stream channels, but he is channel-oriented. He will move up and down the channel. From one end of the lake to the other, he will move up and down the channel. So the structures that he relates to generally is going to be structures that go from the shallows or from the bank all the way out to the channel. That's a good little tip. So anyway, being a structure fisherman, and knowing that bass or stripers and hybrids and everything else relate to structure, most of the time that means they're on the bottom. So being a structure fisherman, I generally fish the bottom. Most of my fishing is going to be concentrated on the bottom, where most striper fishermen I see out wandering around in open water, trolling planer boards and things like that. Well, it's a helter-skelter. Maybe run across some kind of fishing. At times is productive. And if you run around and you're just trying to find fish breaking or hitting shad out in open water, that's a hit and miss situation. But day in, day out, you're going to find the fish, your stripers and your hybrids related to structure, and they're going to be on the bottom. And you will know, by now, that my favorite lure for fishing the deep structures is a blade bait, vertical jig and a blade bait. But I get to thinking, and I'm looking, and I think, they do relate. They do get up in the water column. They do get up up off the structure. They may get up, suspend up off the bottom of the structure. They may suspend out away from a break line. So hybrids and stripers are liable to be suspended up here. Here's your break line or your structure. They may be suspended up here or out here. I know that. So I'm looking around and I think, we'll try to find a lure that will hit or work for those fish. Now, I never just go buy lures, period. I don't go down to the Bass Pro or the tackle shop and look around, look at all the new lures and just buy lures. I will not do that. A lure is nothing but a tool. And if you need a tool, you need to know what job you need that tool for. Okay? A carpenter knows he needs to drive nails, he needs a hammer. So he goes buys him a hammer. So if you go to buy a fishing lure, realize it's a tool. Define what you need that tool to do. So what I'm looking for is a tool that will check this from the bottom back up to the boat, the water column, to catch the occasional suspended fish. So now I see, oftentimes I will actually see stripers and hybrids on the depth sounder, and they'll be tight to the bottom, and you will see other large fish up in the column, one here and there, that you think, well, that's most likely that is stripers or hybrids and stuff, and I have not been concentrating on those. So I decided that I'm going to find a lure that will check the water column from the bottom all the way back up to the boat. And looking around, I see quite a few people are using what they call a Flutter Spoon now. Now, I've never owned a Flutter Spoon, never used a Flutter Spoon. So I thought, but I get to looking at it, and I think, you know, I really do believe that that would be almost probably an ideal lure to fit the situation that I'm looking for. Something to check from the bottom up to the boat, up to the boat, check the water column. That would do better job than my favorite blade bait, which I primarily use bottom, fishing, jigging the bottom in deep water. Now, I know that flutter spoons can definitely be used to jig the bottom, vertical jig off the bottom. But I've got a great lure for that, which is what I think is the flutter spoon. I mean, the blade bait. And I'm certainly willing to add any other lure to the category that would work for that vertical jigging off the bottom. But I'm looking primarily for something that'll be a really good lure to check the water column from the bottom, regardless of how deep that is, up to the boat. So after looking around on YouTube and every other place, I come up with, I'm going to try the flutter spoon. I'm going to try the flutter spoon. Now, I am not going to go out and buy $30 flutter spoons. Any lure will catch a fish. If you move it by at the same depth that the fish is, and you move it at a speed that gets a reaction out of him, he'll hit it. So he'll hit the cheaper ones as easy as he will the more expensive ones. I'm thoroughly convinced of that. Well, this is a Bass Pro Flutter Jack. You're looking at about $5. Okay, not $30, but about $5. So anyway, I go down and I purchase a couple, 3 of these. And I go out to the lake and I go to a place that recently I found fish on the bottom, schools on the bottom. And most of the time lately, of course, because of the weather, all this cold front stuff, they've been rather dormant. And so I go out and I see that there are a few fish along a deep break line, about a 40-foot break line. So I go out and I drop down the flutter spoon, and how I intend to use this. I'm not going to concentrate on vertical jigging to begin with. I want to check the water column all the way up. So rather than now I know you can drop it to the bottom and reel it straight back up, and drop it to the bottom, reel it straight, but that's not what I want to do. In my opinion, my way of thinking, that if a fish is suspended up here in the water column and you just bring a lure straight up by him, he ain't got very long to decide on something. But if you bring it at him at a slant, it stays in and around his depth for a little bit longer. So, but coming at about a 45-degree angle, you're going to keep your lure in and around the fish a little bit longer. So that's what I want to do. So I go out and I drop the lure down to the bottom, and as it's going down, I'm moving the boat with my trolling motor or main motor. I'm moving it along for a ways. And then when the lure hits the bottom, I stop the boat and I reel it, varying my speed, and generally a fast speed, right up through the water column. And lo and behold, right off the bat, bam! I mean, I got a good fish right off the bat. So anyway, I fished that day. They were tight. I went out and I tried vertical jigging right in the school, and they wouldn't have nothing of it. But for whatever reason, a fish now and then, a few fish would get up in the water column. Well, these were active fish. The ones tight to the bottom, they were just sitting there. But the ones up in the water column, they were fairly active. And just fishing a short period of time, I caught one good fish, turned right around and hooked one, and lost it. But that is kind of the reputation of flutter spoons. They tend to lose a few fish. Well, I lost my second fish, and I hooked and landed the third fish. So my first day of flutter spoon fishing was a success. The flutter spoon will definitely be one of my lures of choice to fish the water column from the bottom back to the boat, to catch those fish like stripers and hybrids that tend to suspend. So that's going to be a lure that I'm going to give quite a bit more attention to. Matter of fact, I went the next day and took a friend of mine the old fishing buddy we hadn't fished together in 40 years, and we went out and we did good. We got a whole 4 good ones on a bad cold front day. We got a whole 4 good fish. So and 2 each, and my God, one of them I had a hold of was a monster. I lost him. I lost the biggest one. But anyway, the Flutter Spoon, the video that's following here is my very first day, my very first experience with a Flutter Spoon, but it definitely does fill the niche that I was looking for. I had a void here. I did not have a lure that would fish for suspended fish really well. One that I had, that I just didn't have one that fit that bill like I wanted it to. So I looked around. Flutter Spoon seemed to be the answer. I went out and I used it. And as far as I'm concerned, it is. The Flutter Spoon will definitely be added to my arsenal of catching stripers, hybrids, or any other fish for that matter, but particularly for the water column, not necessarily for jigging the bottom. I will get into that and I will look into that. But for checking the water column, it is an excellent lure. And I am very well pleased with the first results that I had with the Flutter Spoon. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the video, and we'll talk to you soon. This is Flutter Spoon fish here. This is a fish. This is actually my first fish caught on Flutter Spoon. This is a fish. This is actually my first fish caught on Flutter Spoon. Never fished Flutter Spoons. Outside that drum. I've never fished Flutter Spoons. I decided that try them. Boy, I got a good school of fish located below me right now. Gracious day. Good school. This fish here is it's not a monster fish by any means. It's a good fish. Gracious day, there's a good school down there. be better than I thought he was. Sure feels weird on that Flutter Spoon. Oh yeah. Oh, that's good fish. Good fish. My first Flutter Spoon fish is a good one. Come on over here, boy. Get right in that net. Oh, yeah. What about that? That's my first fish ever on a Flutter Spoon. No. First Flutter Spoon fish, and he's a good one. First Flutter Spoon fish, and he's a good one. He's a good fish. I've ever caught on Flutter Spoon. Much to my surprise. Well, that was amazing. That was amazing to me. amazing to me. There, I got him. I got him. I got him. I got him. Another one on the kick it off. I'll be darned. Got off. There he goes. There he goes. Shallow. In a whole bunch of water. Flutter Spoon. Third fish that I've ever had on Flutter Spoons right here. Caught the first and second got off. Let's see what we can do with this. That was fun. That was fun. Oh, whoa, buddy. Whoa, bud. Whoa there, friend. Take it easy, friend. Oh, honey. He's going. Gracious day. That too is a good fish. Yep, there he is. He's a good one. He's a good one. Down here on the floor. Decent striper. Okay. Good house, but first of all, go over here and check the cabins. Two decent eating size factors. But I caught them on a Flutter Spoon. That's the first fish I've ever caught on a Flutter Spoon.
No.
Did you get these?
Yes. Those were beautiful.